Hello, and welcome to Making Creativity Pay, the podcast where we talk to people in creative industries about how they promote and market their work. I'm Dan Barnett, and on this episode I spoke with Ian Adkins and Laura Rouxel of £800 Gorilla, which is a comedy media company that produce, distribute and market stand-up comedy specials and audio albums around the world. We talk in particular about the work of £800 Gorilla in the UK, filming and promoting specials for comedians such as Stuart Goldsmith, Fern Brady, Christopher Macarthur-Boyd, Ivo Graham and many more. We talk about their relationship with artists, promoting UK acts in America and Australia, the importance of social media, and finding the right clip or chunk of a show for the right platform. I started by asking Ian and Laura to give a bit more info about how £800 Gorilla came about and their experiences within comedy.
One of the founding members of the company, we started in 2016, based in, as you can probably tell from my accent, based in U.S., but primarily or specifically out of Nashville, Tennessee. And it was me and a few other guys that were old comedy promoters and artist managers that came together that really saw a hole in the market in the U.S. initially for comedy and started from there. And so over the course of a few years, we had a lot of success in North America, U.S. and Canada, and started to see a lot of opportunities and a lot of the things that we were implementing on the marketing side and promotion side really resonated in the UK as well when we were going through the analysis of the data and all that. And that led us over to the UK, and we were fortunate enough to meet up with Laura, who has been absolutely amazing and game-changing for what we've been doing in the UK. So I'll throw it over to you, Laura.
Oh, thanks, Ian. So I've been with the company at about 3 years now, and we met, I was at Soho Theatre at the time, producing their comedy specials there. So I'd been there a few years, and then sort of previously been around different sides of the comedy industry. I started in TV, so I did the sort of that classic route of from work experience to runner to researcher, producer, in comedy entertainment. So I worked on shows like Mock the Week, some of like the Frankie Boyle stuff. So it was already always sort of in that comedy realm. And then I did a little stint in management, and then really decided to go more towards live comedy, which is sort of the best medium to experience comedy. We all think that, you don't have the restrictions of a format on a panel show or budgetary restrictions that you might have in scripted. So that's sort of the best way to get an artist's original thoughts and personality through. So through that passion, sort of really finding a place like £800 being such a joy, because it's all about capturing those hours as well as we can and doing them justice and working with the artists to sort of convey their visions, really.
So if you had to give someone a kind of elevator pitch for, I've heard of £800 Gorilla. What is it? What does it do? I mean, what's the kind of quick takeaway that you'd kind of give to someone?
We want to be a one-stop shop for comedians with whatever kind of project that they're working on in the stand-up comedy space. And we, with the primary goal of connecting the comics with their super fans and expanding their reach beyond people who already know them, and really enhance their audience and build that and build their career, increase their fan base and open up their specials to new audiences across the globe.
I think I first came across you guys listening to Christopher Macarthur-Boyd's special. And so it's kind of interesting, the model £800 Gorilla has, in that there's some that are there's a paid amount, some are pay what you want, and then there's others partly later on are released for free on YouTube. What was the kind of reasoning behind that kind of model, as opposed to a strict paywall or everything being free?
Yeah, so for that one in particular, and a lot of them, we use kind of a windowing strategy to release these specials out into the world, and the reason for that is we're trying to identify these comedian super fans, the people that would actually reach in their pocket, that want a connection with the artist and want to contribute financially, have some sort of connection directly with them, whether it's through early access, just something that puts them closer to the act. And so we've done that first window a few different ways with some merchandise opportunities, some early access, like I mentioned, kind of pairing that with touring announcements or book announcements, or something that really just makes whatever they're working on just more impactful. And then, we don't like the, bait and switch approach or anything like that. So we're very transparent that this will be free, at X date down the road. And so nobody feels like they're getting ripped off or anything like that. But when you lay it all out like that, and you still have people that want to watch it early and want to even pay for it, that kind of information is invaluable to the artist. And I think that we do that because when you just go straight to YouTube, which we do in some cases, depending, it's case by case basis, whichever's best for the artist. But when you go straight to YouTube, you're you're just giving that data to Google at that point, which is fine if depending on your objectives. But being able to figure out who these people are and being able to build upon that is what that strategy is all about.
As Ian said, we work sort of on a window strategy. And then what we do eventually is that we wanted to go as wide as possible. So whether that's audio avenues, we also make album versions and put it out on the DSP. So that's your Apple Music, Spotify. We put it out on all the TVODs as well. So sort of your Amazon, Google Play. So we've got our distribution team based in Nashville. They've got, all those connections with all those different platforms. And the idea really is to put it in as many places as possible so that wherever you're used to consuming comedy, however you're used to consuming it, whether it's video, audio, then you can find it. And that's another way of bringing new eyeballs and new fans to the table.
Yeah, and I mean, how difficult is that to manage? Because, looking on YouTube, you've got like 3,000 videos already. I mean, how do you prioritize whether it should be a full show promoted, a 10-minute clip, a 1-minute clip, all those kind of things, and kind of how much interaction is there with the artist to say, right, we want a 90-second that goes for Reel and TikTok and everything else. Where would you put it? On how much is kind of your experience to say, well, no, this will pop from your show and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think you run up into a couple different things there with you. You've got, YouTube specifically, you've got one pipeline really. And like you mentioned, we do have a lot of content coming out, a lot of specials coming out. There's only so many hours in the day, and you want to make sure that, we're setting these specials up for the best success. And so, our channel, just like everyone else's channel, is optimized for releases on certain days and times. And we don't want to over release, and we don't want to under release. And so it's just finding that sweet spot. And a lot of times just the data will speak to you, but really it's about what's best for the artist and what do they want. And so as far as the clips, we call them clips and chunks. The clips would be the really short form, or the shorts. And then the chunks would be more of your 10 to 12 minute clips from the video. And those are all working directly with the artist. So we usually take the first stab at it and then get their approvals, use those as marketing vehicles and promotional vehicles to lead to the special. We usually set out with a standard amount of each, all approved by the artist, and then put them out in the world with a little money behind them, sometimes through collabs, sometimes through organic methods as well. And then we sit back and just really watch the analytics and let the viewers tell us what's working, and then relay that to the artist, and then put a little bit more fuel on it when it needs it.
And in terms of kind of what does tend to pop, have you found that it's short clips with a quick setup, punchline, and out, or more the kind of slightly elongated stories?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. We do a lot on TikTok as well, which of course is all short. You've got the Reels, which is, as you know, it's the same type of thing, just different kind of audience. Same way with shorts, and so they all get used, in conjunction with other things as well. I think there's not one type of content that works best for us. I think it's a blend because we're hitting different viewers that have different methods of consuming stuff online.
Yeah, it's great together. Our marketing team is so good at sort of knowing what platform requires how long and what kind of stuff works best for each. So they sort of look at an hour and just go at it, just chop it up and for all those different purposes, and whilst always keeping the artist, in the conversation, but we also sort of advise and guide them and tell them what we think works best. But yeah, depending on the hour, obviously with the Brits doing a lot of storytelling, there's ways to sort of recut those. Sometimes you have to look at cutting some bits in the middle and condensing, and there's different ways to do it. But yeah, the Americans, as you know, often tend to be a bit more punchliney. So it really depends. We just look at it case by case. But our marketing team, who are based mostly in the US, they've become pros at cutting storytelling since they've been working on loads of UK stuff.
That's right.
They know how to do it now. Yeah,
that's right. And these and as you know, like the platforms, what works last week might not work this week, and they shift depending on whatever. And we also have a digital team in London that really kind of comes at it from a different angle as well. And I mean, it's just if you're in this space, you got to be a student of it every day and be willing to shift with whatever works this week. So I think that's what's cool about a company our size is that we are able to shift really quickly. We don't have a bunch of hoops to jump through. If we want to try something, let's go. And I think that's what's really cool about comedy and specifically, as opposed to music, for instance, where my background came from, is if we want to try a different approach, we can usually just pick up the phone or text the comedian and say, hey, do you want to try this? And usually it's like, great. If they happen to have a digital team, they're usually really flexible and willing to do some fun things. And we don't have to go through this giant board of agents, managers, marketing teams, all that sort of thing. We can kind of just go and try new things. And comedy is just different than any other, any other format that we had been used to working with in the past. Whereas it just cuts through different audiences, there's not that tribal kind of experience like you have in music, where I only listen to hip hop, so I don't listen to country music, and I only listen to rock, and I don't listen to whatever. And comedy just doesn't have those walls in there, so you can really get creative with what you're trying to do, and you're targeting a really wide spectrum of person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Laura, I assume you work more closely with the artists and kind of getting them on board and that kind of thing. When you speak to people, how much is you kind of going, these guys would be perfect for 800 Pound Gorilla? Or how much is an artist saying to you, I've seen what you do, I'd love to come on board? And kind of how does the relationship kind of start?
I mean, it's both, really. It's a real combination. We watch a lot. I mean, we go to the Fringe usually I go about 3 weeks and Ian about 10 days. And so that's one place where you watch a lot, and then watch a lot in London, watch a lot online. If anyone submits anything, we watch. But then also, we're sort of really on the ground in the industry. So you sort of, when someone's coming up. We go to showcases, we know all the agents, we know a lot of comics personally as well. So, it's at the end of the day, it's a fairly small industry. So it's always great to take recommendations when you keep hearing a name and suddenly you have friends who are excited about that person. So it's a real combination of identifying things that we think will work great for us and sort of getting behind artists sometimes quite early in their careers, like Paddy Young and Dan Tiernan, for instance. We filmed a double bill of them a couple of months ago, who were nominated for Best Newcomers last year. And, as soon as we saw the shows, and obviously we'd heard of them, but then you see the shows and you're like, yeah, okay, we've got to get behind these guys. They're sort of the next generation of stars, really. To working with, we work a lot, for instance, with Off the Curb. We've done, recently we did Rosie Jones, we did Jack D, which was such a privilege for us to be able to work with someone of that stature. So we work with sort of, all types of profiles. That's really what we like to do. We're always mindful of the curation and making sure that we work on projects that we think will resonate not only in the UK, but in the US and globally, because that's also our fan base. So yeah, real combination, really.
And so for the artists, do they take much persuasion, or, you kind of show them, well, this is what you'd get with us, as opposed to, obviously if you do it yourself, you have more control, but the competition is enormous and getting seen is so difficult. I mean, is it relatively easy to kind of say, well, look, we've got this huge catalogue, we deal with lots of people, we've got that kind of reach, and, it's a huge opportunity.
As you know, Dan, I mean, keeping up with all the marketing platforms and then the distribution platforms and best practices with all that, I mean, that's something that, like, if you're the comedian, like, you should be focused on writing and doing your comedy, and this other stuff is just going to, you can do it all yourself. It's not, a lot of this stuff's not rocket science for sure, but if you're just focused on writing the comedy, performing, doing what you do best, partnering with a company like ours so we can handle the rest of this stuff so you can stay focused is just going to make for better specials and everything like that.
Yeah, I think, and especially since we've done quite a lot of releases in the past few years, we're in a nice position now where people are aware of us. So usually that's a good way to start that conversation. And, we look at every project case by case. So some of them we might produce it and release it. Some of them we might just be guns for hire and then they distribute themselves. So, we like to sort of give all the options, but a lot of the time tapping into the network that we already have is pretty appealing to the artist, because if you self-release on your own YouTube, unless you're cutting stuff out and putting stuff out every week, then you're just not gonna have the algorithm serve up your content as well as it will ours, because we've got all the infrastructures in place and all that. So usually it's not a very, very hard sell, let's say. But, again, we like to look at it case by case and see how we can. It's all about believing that we can impact a release. If we don't believe that we can, then, we sort of find different ways to sort of maybe say next time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say, I'd just add to that too, is for UK acts in particular, a lot of our appeal is the international audience and new market growth. Especially when it comes to artists that want to tour, whether it's in Australia, North America, and being able to release the special and target, specifically areas that they want to grow in, and having the audience already built in that we can put the special in front of has really, really been a great selling point. It's something that we love to see as well. And one of our big things that we're trying to accomplish is there's so many fantastic artists in the UK that some of them are unknown in other markets. And we just know if we can get the right bit, the right chunk, the right hour in front of a different audience, they're gonna be just as big as they are in the UK. They just need a chance.
Yeah.
And I guess just adding to that, just as we all know, the industry is not in its best health at the moment, and a lot of budgets are being slashed, and it's harder for comics to grow their profiles on TV and find those traditional ways that they used to have even just sort of 4 or 5 years ago, when there were way more panel shows and just ways to sort of grow that audience. So self-releasing and trying to reach your audience directly is quite daunting if you don't know where to start. So having a place, I guess, like ours is probably a helpful way to go about it, because we've been doing it for years and we know where to start, really.
Yeah. Something of kind of a regular thing on the podcast is, this whole concept of monetization and, content. Let's not call it content, but, people's work, people's art. Monetization is kind of seen as a dirty word that, you kind of put it out and you hope that something comes back. But, I'd imagine you help an awful lot in kind of that kind of thing and making it as not lucrative, it's never lucrative, but as monetized as best as possible, effectively.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of look at every relationship with an artist is a long-term relationship, and all these platforms feed each other, and all the different parts of the artist's career feed each other as well. And a lot of it's hard to track. And I mean, you can get kind of close with some of the analytic tools with the social stuff that we're doing. But like when we release something, it could, building that audience is going to help with ticket sales. Higher ticket sales are going to lead for more interest in seeing previous specials from that act. And the podcasting element is such a big part of it as far as promotion and discovery. And I think it's just a 360 in kind of environment around it all. Yeah, I think that's one of our main goals with it all.
And in terms of from a if it's me as a consumer, I go to 800 Gorilla, I want to watch content you guys put together. How important do you think curation is, and kind of matching to my tastes and putting the right thing in front of me? Is there that much at the moment, or is it very much kind of a one size fits all currently?
Well, I think, and especially, when we started working in the UK, you've got to sort of establish a bit of a taste so that people go on this journey with you. So I think we're quite careful to work. Again, it's not a matter of profile and where someone's at, because we really like to work with the whole spectrum, but it's more about identifying talents that we really believe in, and that, we are comedy fans ourselves. So I guess the first thing is, does it make us laugh? And then obviously we've got to be open to other voices and other styles of comedy that may not particularly appeal to me. I may not be, the target demographic, but we've got an AR team that we like to sort of put stuff through so that we all sort of discuss it and think, again, I mean, because we've got a global audience, we like to also think, well, is this too British for it to translate? But a lot of the time we find that's not an issue. I mean, as long as the content is relatable, it doesn't matter if it has references that are quite British or Australian, because we're working with more and more Australians at the moment. So yeah, curation is key. So we try to work on projects that make us laugh firstly, but then, also sort of think about what else our wider audience might like, and, maybe go a bit broader, and then at times go a bit more alternative. Just really try and, do a bit of everything, really.
And I know you've got, obviously, like you said, the various social media platforms. You've also got an email newsletter. I mean, again, within that, is that kind of segmented or targeted, or is that a kind of quite a generic, this is what we think is hot this week?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of newsletters that are out there that kind of serve different purposes. Our main newsletter goes out weekly on Thursday, Fridays. Really hits like what's happening in our world and some of our other imprints, like our classic comedy imprint, Clown Jewels. And it's supposed to be a very easy way for someone to catch up on what's happened in our world this week. The other big thing that we've done this past year is incorporate our editorial side of the comedy news division to our website, where that traffic has been really building over the year. And it's not just about 800-pound stuff. It's the comedy industry, worldwide. And that also has a newsletter component to it as well. And it's supposed to be a nice, easy weekly email that you can read in about 5 minutes, and you'd be up to speed on all the main things that are happening in comedy that week, broken down in lists and everything like that. So that's really been a great new feature that we've added this year.
Within the various bits of promotion, is there anything that kind of stands out to you? Go, wow, that was like a huge success, something that went completely viral.
Yeah, a couple of examples. We were chatting to our marketing team sort of ahead of this, and there's some that really jump out on socials. For instance, I mean, we worked with Matt Rife on a few projects, who is so huge in the US, and some of his stuff is over 15 million views on YouTube, and that that's the kind of level is at. But then in terms of socials recently, for instance, so Olga Koch had a routine about the lyrics of the song Jolene, which got over 4 million views on socials. And Fern always does very well. Fern Brady, she had a clip that we called "Trapped in a Scottish Accent," which did close to 2 million.
I think one of the things that's interesting to talk about is, yes, there's kind of an increased focus for 800 Gorilla for UK acts, and you've talked about kind of them moving over to States as well, or kind of getting visibility. I mean, what was the kind of thinking about that? Did you kind of see it as a bit of an untapped market compared to the US overall?
Yeah, I mean, we started seeing a lot of our releases that we were marketing globally really start lighting up in the UK market, and we started paying more attention to that and really learning more about what was going on over here, and then being able just kind of coming over and not acting like we know the UK market at all, and just really learning from all the experts there. Laura and all the agents that were really kind to us when we came over, just like, hey, we've got a really cool thing that's going on over in the US, and we've been seeing some really great results, and we'd like to apply some of those concepts in the UK just to see how we could possibly affect things over here. And we started off with a handful of audio releases, and they really took off, not only in the UK, but in the US. I know Sean McLaughlin was one of our early examples of that. And it was just like, okay, there's some more things happening here. And so we're good friends with with Chris and the IAM folks over there. So one of our first filmings was we came over, March of 2020. I think it was March 17th as the world was shutting down. Yeah, and we filmed Alfie Brown and Fern Brady up in Glasgow, like literally as the world was shutting down, and it's been amazing to see how those specials perform, because we released them, during the lockdown and everything like that, and just to see how much Fern in particular has grown as an artist, and all of the other fantastic things that she's done in her career. And it's just been cool to play, a part in that, and just seeing all the success that she's had over the years.
In terms of the work, so if someone comes to you, films a special with you, that then gets released, at what point does it become theirs or yours, and how does that kind of work?
I mean, those are deal by deal kind of situations. We work in a number of capacity, and like I said at the beginning, if an artist comes to us something that they want to do, like, we're going to figure out a way to do it if it makes sense for everyone involved. And I mean, we work in the work for hire space with comedians that want to own their specials and want to invest. And we work in, kind of a blend of that model as well. And then we also invest directly in stuff that we think could really, really impact our audience and the comedian's audience. And so we work in that area as well.
You've talked a little bit about audio as well as filming. Do you think there's potential for, like, effectively a kind of a compilation or a mixed bill, effectively like a taster, where you kind of then put that out as a 60-minute audio, but it's 12 5-minute clips and those kind of things? Is there a lot of opportunity for kind of repurposing, I'll say the word, content?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we as we started, like I mentioned, we started as an audio company, so that was the primary focus of how we released specials in the past. So through that, we had a lot of success with putting certain playlists together with evergreen material, whether it's Halloween compilation, a Christmas type of comedy. I mean, you can do so many cool things right now with all of that. So we've got quite a big catalog of things, and it just helps to keep these specials and these bits relevant, and kind of a nice way to kind of re-promote them. But we're always looking to expand on that as the platforms, as the new platforms emerge. And then another platform that we've used a lot in the US space is SiriusXM, which is a satellite channel. And so we sometimes put together a best of the UK type compilation that we could pitch to them. and under the goals of really exposing new fans to some of the best comics that we've filmed over in the UK. So I think we do all of that, and then also, I mean, there's some great opportunities in the podcasting space as well. So we're actively, we got a whole audio division that actively looks at ways to get our audio content back out there and promote it right.
And we're having discussions with all your classic broadcasters and platforms as well, because we've got such a huge catalogue. If you put together the UK, US, Australian stuff, so yeah, that's always something that we're keen to explore. We've got a few things under development at the moment in that sort of showcase format, which is exciting.
Yeah, an awful lot of it is generally stand-up. Is there, you looking to move out more into kind of either kind of more variety stuff or sketch and those kind of areas? So within, doesn't necessarily have to be stand-up comedy, but more general kind of entertainment.
Yeah, we that's definitely the direction that we're heading as a company, and that fits right in line with a comedian that, as we talk to these comedians about their specials, they always have all these other ideas and all these things that they've written or they're sitting on, or they want to get out in the world. They just don't know the next steps, and that is the probably the next big thing that we're going to be doing, is getting more involved in the scripted space. And we've done a few things already on our YouTube channel, kind of re-releasing some things that have gotten buried in the algorithms of YouTube and put in front of a fresh audience, and then remarketing them as well, because, somebody that likes, a Matt Rife example, once again, is there's so many people that love his specials that have no clue that he had a short series out, right? And so by putting that out and being able to use some of that remarketing to put this special in front of people, we've seen that approach being really impactful. And then I think the next step, of course, is to really get some original content going, and we have 2 people in our office that are really focused on that right now. So it's an exciting space. It's an exciting space.
So do you see that almost as kind of creating things for, let's say, Radio 4 or Netflix or whatever else, not just within the site, or do you think it'll still sit within £800 Gorilla directly?
Yeah, I think it could be all of the above, and I think that depending on what the opportunity is and the level of the artists, and how financing comes together, I think as of right now we're going to start from the YouTube level on up, but we work with artists that are across the board, from Jimmy Carr, and all the way down to just up and coming people as well. So there's just different budgets along the way, and tons of opportunity. It seems like endless ideas that want to get made. So figuring out what's the best way to start.
And so you both mentioned go to Edinburgh. It's obviously it's kind of a common theme. I talk about people. Is it still the be all and end all? I mean, for you two, obviously there's various festivals around the UK during the year. Buxton, Machynlleth, Camden Festival, but is Edinburgh still where you'd concentrate your efforts and kind of have a big push there?
I think it still is just a very convenient place to see stuff, but of course we also recognize how expensive it is, and we definitely don't want that to be the only way that we find people we work with. So and since COVID, I suppose the emergence of online not the emergence, but it's just got so much bigger as a way to build an audience. So that's also a way we like to find comics, is to make sure that we watch stuff online as well. But I mean, Edinburgh is still very convenient to see people there. We try and go see showcases as well, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then, we try and go to other festivals. For instance, I'm in Brighton at the moment, so seeing stuff at the Fringe here, and just try and see as much as we can in a live way across the country, really.
Yeah, that's kind of what, in regarding the Fringe, one of the first things that we noticed that there were so many amazing hours up there that never got captured, whether it was even audio. And we just, as we were building our audience up, we were just trying to figure out, these hours are fantastic, and what can we invest in even at a modest production level that's going to look really nice and captured right, but still at a cost that's that's reasonable, and be able to preserve these and put them out, because there's some of these, they just need to be seen worldwide, and it's just a shame that so many of them went uncaptured.
And so with that, would you tend to say, right, we will take a crew and kit and everything and say, we want to film everything at Monkey Barrel, for example, or Gilded Balloon, or whatever else it is? Or would you move around depending on the artist? Or is it logistically easier to just say, well, we'll pick these two venues and we'll film, as much as people are interested in at those venues?
I think that by the time the artists are done with Fringe, they're pretty match fit on the hour, and then they'll start touring. So we typically try to find something on the tour, whether it's in the fall or the next year, and we shoot all over the UK, and just we're trying to find unique rooms and have the right audience for it. We haven't done anything to this point at the Fringe, but Laura, did you want to kind of expand on that a little bit, on that approach?
Well, I guess I think that, we like to take our time setting up, and usually do it, across an entire day, and often bring in stage design, lighting design, that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, with the Fringe being what it is, you have 15 minutes to do so if you want to do it up there. So we tend to use more the Fringe as a place to see stuff, but not necessarily film, and then to have those conversations afterwards. But yes, as Ian says, it depends on the artist, depends what they want to do. Sometimes we film two artists on the same day when it makes sense, like Paddy and Dan, for instance, who are really good friends and coming up together, doing a lot of projects together. Sometimes we will go and film, for instance, Josh Pugh, we filmed in Birmingham. That was the Birmingham Town Hall was his last date, and that was his home crowd, and that always makes such a difference. So wherever we can, we like to also go and film where the artist is from, because there's just nothing like it, really.
At the Fringe, when you're choosing things, obviously you said, you see what's online, you kind of hear a buzz about a particular person, but are there any way you just kind of take a chance on some random in the street has an interesting flyer and those kind of things, and you think, yeah, I'll give this an hour? And what kind of things attract you? Is it someone just kind of literally just accosting you in the street? Is it a particularly colourful flyer? Is it them selling it to you literally outside the venue? I mean, what kind of things kind of tip the balance for you to kind of get you to go inside and watch a show?
Yeah. I mean, that's the joy of the Fringe. You always have to keep little windows for that. Otherwise, it's quite a lot of planning. There's always the spreadsheet, and there's always, you've got to be quite clever about how you use your time up there, because you just want to maximize what you're seeing. But yes, definitely time to see the odd thing here and there.
In the case of Josh Glantz, the poster did it.
If an artist is performing in Edinburgh and thinks, I'd love to get you in, obviously not necessarily to film there and then, but for something later on in the year, or, the spring of the year after, I mean, what should they do to kind of, should they just badger you on social media, drop you a synopsis of kind of what they're doing? What's the kind of best way to kind of get them noticed?
Well, usually they get in touch with us, and then we like to make sure that if they send a clip or an audio in, we make sure that we listen and view everything that comes in, and have a discussion with our A&R team and review everything and give feedback. And at the end of the day, it often comes down to, well, the bandwidth that we have. Do we have space to take it on? And do we think we can impact that release, at this particular time? And then of course, if we're invited to see shows, we try our best to go and see them. So yeah, and if we can't make it this time, at least someone's, that puts someone on our radar. And if we keep hearing a name, then obviously we'll we'll eventually get round to it. Yeah.
Ian, what would you say is, kind of if someone wanted to get on board and, had problems, does it need to be that kind of hour? Obviously, you want the best quality possible. Does it need to be a kind of polished hour? Or if they've got a work in progress that's maybe, 40, 45 minutes that has potential, is that enough to kind of say, yeah, we're interested, we'll kind of, keep in touch and want to discuss things?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we get the preview links in a variety of different ways, video, audio, it could be rough and whatever. But I mean, it gives our team a good chance to really evaluate it to see if we can impact it at all. And what's really cool about our A&R team is, I mean, Laura and I over here are going to be the first filter for anything international. We'll throw it to our U.S. counterparts. And what's really cool about the system is that everyone gets a reply, one way or another. And the one thing that the U.S. team does really well is feedback into why we might pass, or why, and then obviously if we accept, there's that direction. But I think it gives good feedback because some hours are fantastic. They just don't fit where we are at the moment. But that doesn't mean down the road that it won't be it won't be something that we'll be interested in. Or maybe it's just not quite there, and in the next time around we can have the conversation again.
Thanks so much for your time. Just to kind of finish, if you want to talk about kind of what's going on at 800 Pound Gorilla and kind of what people should look out for over the next few months, anything particularly interesting that's coming up.
Yes, I mean we just released Ivo Graham, which is very exciting and is going well. We've got quite a lot of Brits in the edit at the moment, so watch this space is what I'll say. But we're going to keep this cadence of releasing fairly regularly on the British side, and in the meantime we've also got all our US stuff coming out. And really excitingly, we just went to Melbourne Festival as a little team to we'd started in the last year working with more and more Australians, and we love that scene, and it's been such a pleasure to get to know that quirky scene of both the Australians and Kiwis are just wonderful, and it was really great to go there and meet everyone. And so more Australians and Kiwis coming your way as well.
Yeah, and I think that's another market that the UK hours really perform well in the Australian market. So being able to market those to them, I mean, I know there's that pipeline between the UK and Australia is so strong, it's just a natural way to promote stuff over there. So having that relationship stronger over since we went down there for the festivals is something that really exciting, and you'll see more of that coming out.
Do you see a stage where there'll be 800 Pound Gorilla events or festivals where, in real life, where you're effectively the curator?
I think so.
Oh, this is perfect. Oh, sorry, I was going to say, Ian, this is perfect promotion for our showcase at Monkey Barrel in Edinburgh. We've
okay. That wasn't a deliberate question.
No, that's perfect. But yeah, I mean, this one is more of a fun thank you alumni night, because so many of the acts we work with are up there. So we're going to put on a little showcase with Monkey Barrel, who we love and work with a lot. And because it's monkey and gorilla, there'll be banana themed things. We need to work it out, but it's going to be something.
Yeah, just a total celebration of all the acts that we've been lucky enough to work with, and just a chilled out evening, just celebration of everything over there. So what a crew! That's gonna be a fun night.
But do you see that kind of growing if successful?
Yeah. I think that I think that's really interesting. And over the past few years, we've really kind of shifted our models, because we do have an audience that's grown to a pretty significant size, and they're passionate comedy fans. And I think there's an expectation of what we release, and I think that we're to the point right now that we could do more of a 800 pound gorilla branded type events. and it has some sort of familiarity to it. And I think that's exciting. We don't have anything specific, but I think this the Fringe Showcase will be a nice a nice first step.
Yeah, because obviously then you get into promotion and all that. We're producers and distributors, so it's not really our expertise yet. But who's to say? We might just love it so much that we want to do bigger scale versions of it. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed that. I think it's a really interesting business that, it's like you think you kind of said, it's difficult for artists. So many I talk to. I think Stuart Goldsmith's another one you've had on. He's been on my podcast quite a bit. He's first guest actually. He talks about being a solopreneur, where he has to kind of produce it, market it, and everything else. But I think he's kind of gone down the road now where he's kind of said, if the bit doesn't interest him, he'll get someone in to do it. So I think he's got someone in producing the podcast now and doing some other bits and pieces. And I think it kind of makes a lot of sense that you just concentrate on the writing and the performing, and someone else will do the other bits that you don't like but they're good at. And it makes a lot of sense.
That's right. Total team effort. We love Stuart Goldsmith too. One of the best releases we put out. I love that hour. It's beautiful.
And it looks gorgeous as well, that one. Particularly, it was a friend of his who had done the painting that's in the background, and it was when he brought it to us on a sort of a team production meeting. We're like, absolutely, and it just is one of the most gorgeous ones we've done, I'd say.
Thanks for listening. There's more details in the show notes about where you can find out more about 800 Pound Gorilla. If you enjoyed this, check out some of our previous episodes where we speak to people from a variety of areas about making creativity pay, including talking to a number of comedians about their Fringe experiences.